Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Planet Hero. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Monk,
And I am your other host, TJ Cornwell.
and welcome back to the Planet Film Network. So it's been a little bit for Planet Hero. When did Falcon and Winter Soldier end? 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks
Three, four
ago.
weeks. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
ooh. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. But, you guys have been watching the Planet Councils and stuff, and we will have Planet Council next week, and then we will return to Planet Hero 2 weeks from now. Every other week, the shows alternate with Loki reviews and Bad Batch reviews. Um, but today, we are reviewing episode 1 of Loki.
Back with a
Uh,
bang.
Back with a bang. Episode 1, Glorious Purpose. 54 minutes.
Yes,
All right.
indeed.
I got to get first impressions. What were your very first impressions? Spoiler free, and then we'll go into spoilers.
Okay.
What did you think?
I thought this episode was fantastic. I love the way we kind of got to, dive deeper into Loki's psyche. Well, I feel like we've done that kind of in previous movies, but we've
Mm-hmm.
never really, it's never been like, he's never been the main character.
Yeah.
So the show definitely gives you an deeper inside look at him and how he functions and why he does what he does and stuff like that. Owen Wilson is great. He's not his usual Owen Wilson self. He is more kind of dramatic. Not like he is like in a Wes Anderson movie or like any comedy that he's ever been in. It's kind of like it's one of those things where it's like him and like Adam Sandler both have like this gear that they bring out, and I feel like once in a while, and that's
Yeah.
it. Um, while Adam Sandler, I feel like is more goofy than Owen Wilson. They both kind of bring like just this dramatic chops that you didn't think that they really had. I don't know if Owen Wilson he's probably done like other like dramatic stuff that I've just never seen. But this is the first time seeing him in that, and I think he's great. Um, as well as everybody else that's in the show. And I know there's like a few Easter eggs that we'll talk about. I think that
I have
I've seen some theories.
76.
76. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen some theories, which I'll be excited to get your opinion on.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was fantastic first episode. And sorry, real quick, I had heard that the first episode was like weak from like one person on Twitter, and then everybody else said it was great. So
Yeah.
I was like, because they said something about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
exposition, but I was completely fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought. Um, so, just to give my initial thoughts. I thought a lot of what TJ just said, I thought it was very good. On the exposition point of it, I was telling somebody, I was like, and this is not a knock on Bad Batch or anything like that, but like a
Mhm.
show can really hit its stride. What like think of it like a chessboard. Like a show can really hit its stride like when all the pieces are at play. You know what I mean? Like, and Bad
Mhm.
Batch, we're on episode 7, and well, episode 6 really last week. We kind of got to the point where now all the chips are at play. Like they got you got Fennec Shan out there, you got everything going on the crosshair. They're set up as mercenaries, and then you could kind of let the story unfold and kind of really take off, which is kind of what we saw with this past episode. Loki did all of that in its first episode. Like
Right.
there was a ton of exposition done beautifully through, like you said, kind of this like therapy session slash interrogation slash
Mhm.
argument. It basically was just him and Mobius talking the entire episode. Uh, they basically got all the heavy lifting out of the way. I mean, they
Right.
got him halfway to. Because the thing you got to remember too is, this is not our guy anymore. This is fresh off Battle of New York. No Dark World, no Ragnarok, no Infinity War, nothing like that has
Mhm.
happened to this guy. He hasn't ruled Asgard for 2 years. Like that changed him a lot. Uh, like this is not that guy. He's got to get to that place, and I feel like this episode
Mhm.
got him like almost halfway there already. Like really, it was through like like we said, like the kind of therapy interrogation thing with Mobius.
Mhm.
Like it got some heavy stuff, and he peeled back a lot of layers that I think Loki didn't even know that he had. Um,
Right.
until he saw what he saw, which we'll talk about in a little bit, obviously. But yeah, first impressions, that fantastic episode. Same like you, I saw mostly completely positive on a lot of the press got the first two episodes sent to them, and everybody was like, "Oh, they're fantastic." And then I did see like one or two people that were like, "I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me." And it's like, I don't know what they were watching,
I don't know
but
what will then.
yeah,
So yeah.
I'll say for myself,
Mhm.
I would say this is probably the strongest start to any of the Disney Plus MCU
Yeah,
shows.
I'd agree. Mm.
Which is not to say anything against WandaVision. I mean, the first episode of WandaVision, you can't even compare to this because they were doing something totally different. The first episode of WandaVision to compare to this would basically be like episode 4. Like the
Mm.
first 3 were literally just the show.
Right.
And then Falcon and Winter Soldier, it did basically the exact opposite of this. The first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier took it slow. They almost didn't do any heavy lifting, and just were
Right.
kind of like, all right, here are where these guys are at, and that's not a knock on either of those shows. It's just the shows need to do different things to get you going in the story, and I think that
Mhm.
this one pulled it off very very well. So
Yeah.
yeah, after that, let's go to spoiler talk.
Okay.
So hit me with it. We're just gonna jump around, do a review style, theory style.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing you
Um.
want to talk about?
Okay. Well, the first thing, obviously, is obviously, it's not really a spoiler, I guess. So like when I think it's like very beginning episode when Owen Wilson is in the church with the TVA guy, and they're talking to a little girl, and they're like, "Who did this?" And she points to like the stained glass window, and it's a
Yeah,
devil. And I was like, Mephisto, but
it's him.
I know it's not. I think
Yeah,
it was. I don't know like what
the
that's like
showrunner even
meant to
came out and
represent.
was like,
It's not.
"Yeah, it's just." She said it's literally it's just Loki.
It's
It's
just
just it's
okay.
just because of the horns
The horns,
and
right?
and
Yeah,
like a devil basically. Like that was
right.
it.
Um, I'm like, so I'm like confused. Okay, so there is there was separate timelines like way back, and then the three like timekeepers came in and they made it one timeline. And now every time that a timeline kind of starts to really get out of whack or somebody deviates, they come in and reset it to normal, correct?
Yeah,
So
that's what
like
we're led to believe.
how would this evil Loki be like so they're just like cuz like in my mind it's like there should just only be one Loki if there's one timeline. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
Am I
why.
incorrect
Well,
in
that's
that?
the thing is that it's a variant. So it's like whoever the Loki is escaped them because they're at the end of the day they can only fix the timeline if they can fix the timeline. If the
Right.
person keeps outrunning them,
Right.
there's nothing they can really do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That kind of thing.
And they
It,
show it on the screen where it's like they have like this one timeline. It's like it's going up, and then there's like red signals and everything when it starts to like get all out of whack.
mhm.
I'm very interested. I don't like. I I just am curious. Like I know they said it's Loki, it's him. Like oh, Wilson, like it's you. We're hunting. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like I just feel like it's like possibly not. You know, I've heard some speculation that it could be Lady Loki, who I've like no background knowledge on.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
so
Lady
that'd be
Loki is him. It
oh
just yeah.
okay
Yeah.
okay
That's what I think as well. I don't know if that was the theory you were talking about or if it's something else, but I think,
no something else.
yeah, I think that the villain, like the person they're
Hmm.
hunting, is Lady Loki. But Lady Loki is still him.
Okay.
It's still is like Loki's base look and personality is Tom Hiddleston. Just like in the comics, like
Hmm.
the typical 30-ish-year-old looking male with long black hair is his base state. I don't know if that's his natural state or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'd assume it's his natural state because that's what he looked like when he was a kid and everything like
Hmm.
that. But he can look and appear like anything he wants to.
Hmm.
Just like when
Um,
he impersonated Cap.
right. Right. So actually, this is a question for you. Um, how did you feel? So I liked how they explained everything with the missed minutes, kind of like cartoon type, like PSA.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. I like the animation style of that. And what did you? How did you feel about how they, when he's talking to the judge? I think it is. How did you feel how they talked about the Avengers thing? How
Well,
they're like, well, that was supposed to happen.
the only thing that's odd is, and this is one of those things where, I'm sure the show will explain it, or it's
Hmm.
just one of those things that's like, just don't worry about it.
Hmm.
We're trying to do it here, but if maybe there's some things that don't quite add up, like that's
Right.
gonna happen, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing for me that does not add up is because Loki is 100% right. He didn't time travel. Uh, but the thing is that what they say is like, well, it's not necessarily time travel. It's if you do something just in regular life as well that you're not supposed to do, that you know what I
Right.
mean, that kind of thing.
Which again
Uh,
brings in the whole question of like, do you actually have a choice, or is literally your entire life already set out and planned for you, and you're just kind of going through the motions?
that's the question.
I think I'm
But
hoping they explore it more.
in terms of the Avengers, like you were saying, my only thing is, and she does not say. A lot of people online. I'll say this to the audience and everything, and you. A lot of people online are saying um, that the judge said everything the Avengers did was approved. All she said
Mm.
was what they did was supposed to happen.
Supposed to happen. Yeah.
So, and we know that they don't get involved with every change. It's just things that mess up the
Starts a lot
sacred
of whack.
timeline. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are some changes that don't interfere with things. Like, I watched one video that was like, and you can't tell me that Steve Rogers, when he went back in time, just stayed quiet and didn't get involved. And it's like, no, yeah, he probably did stay quiet and get involved because he's not an idiot.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he knows he can't just emerge and be like, "Oh, hey, like I'm back." You know what I mean? Like that was clearly implied that he
Which
stayed
also,
secret.
speaking of Steve Rogers, this brings into another thing that I've seen. I don't know if you've seen this. Apparently, when Loki is like, I think he's just walking in the hallway or something after he's kind of escaped that room, that they bring in Peggy like through one of the little warp things. I don't know if that's like true. It kind of does look like her. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think it definitely does look like her. I think at most it would be like a Peggy from an alternate, like a Peggy variant. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, there's no deny. I saw it the very first time I watched the episode.
Oh, okay.
I was like, what? I was like, but I was like, I must just be seeing things. But then everybody started
Yeah.
talking about it, and I was like, oh shit. So I rewatched that scene, and then I also rewatched the episode. But
Hmm.
um, it definitely I mean, it could just be like a woman from like the 40s or 50s,
Right.
but it 100%, like the hair, everything is exactly Peggy, like
Hmm.
100%. So it could just be a random
Right.
woman, but it does look a lot like her. But I think it's probably more anything just like a visual reference, just like the
Yeah.
the scroll. When he first comes in, you see the
Hmm.
scroll there. Like I think it's just one of those things that's like, yeah, man, they got stuff going all over the place. You know what I mean? That kind of
Right.
thing. But in terms of like what I was saying with the Avengers, with everything they did, Loki taking the Tesseract though, like so the Steve going back and living with Peggy, I can understand how that would not upset the sacred timeline
Hmm.
because if Steve just goes back and doesn't you know doesn't change life events, doesn't do this, doesn't do that, doesn't interfere with
Right.
anything, that's not going to mess up the sacred timeline. um One question mark that I do have though is if Loki didn't take the Tesseract, they would have never went back to Camp Lehigh in 1970, like to steal the Pym particles and to steal the Tesseract.
Hmm.
So that whole sequence in 1970 with Tony and Cap, uh, which is what inspires Cap to have the idea when he sees Peggy to go back and live with Peggy. That would have never happened if Loki didn't take the Tesseract. So that's the only place where it gets a little hairy to
Funny.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Now you could, I mean, we're breaking down all this stuff, and it's just as easy as saying, well, the TVA seems very stubborn, and they'll just say, well, that was part of the sacred timeline, but that wasn't. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
could be like I don't know, because think about it, like, well, actually, so Loki had nothing to do with the Hulk taking the stairs, right? Let's work on it that way. Loki had nothing to do with Hulk taking the stairs. So, no matter what, when they went back, actually, yeah, that's a good way. I think I just solved it. No matter what, Tony was getting hit by that door, and the Tesseract was flying back to Thor. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and then how are you going to get it back at that point? Like, Scott's not going to be able to go back and re-get it. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe they always were going to have to get a different Tesseract. Maybe they were always, but maybe in the Sacred Timeline version, it was just like Tony or Thor grabs it and are like, oh crap, how did that get out? You know, that kind of thing. Because I just thought about that. It's like, the only thing that deviated was Loki grabbing it, not Tony
Right.
losing it. And Tony losing it is what made them go back to the 70s, not Loki taking it. So I guess maybe that does work. All right, good for them.
One last little theory I want to bring up, and then I'd like to just touch on like a few, I guess, smaller things throughout the episode I liked.
Yeah.
I only saw this on Campy's show because some viewer like said something, I guess. Apparently some people are saying that there is a resemblance in the courtroom, you know, like the three faces.
Oh, here we go.
That the middle one is Kang, or looks like Kang.
Who's it?
What do you mean? Who is it?
No, I'm just kidding.
Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Do you think that would be how they would like introduce that character, or do you think it's just kind of like a, you know, we're looking because he's gonna be an Ant-Man?
It depends how comic book accurate they're going with the Timekeepers and stuff.
Oh, is he one in the comics or no?
No,
No.
so
Okay.
in the comics, what the Timekeepers actually are is so they're right. There was a multiverse war and stuff like that. And basically the last living member of the TVA at the end of the universe created, because you know they say in this, I don't know how or what created them or what that is, but Miss Minute says, you know, all these people, they were created to be in the TVA. Like, what does that mean? Were they just poofed into existence? Were they, you know, that kind of
That's
thing?
how I took it. Is like they were just like boom, they're there. You know,
Yeah,
and their only
same.
objective is to keep track of the time and everything like that.
Same. And so the last living or the last remaining member of the TVA poofed into existence the Timekeepers, and then at the end of time, and then sent them back to the beginning of time to ensure the sacred timeline. This is just in the comics, by the way. I don't know what they're doing here yet. But so they get to the end of time, then they create the Timekeepers to go back to the beginning of time to make sure that all of historical events goes the way it should, so that the Timekeepers can be born to then go back and make sure it all goes right. Because if they, it's kind of like a, what do they call it? Like the bootstrap paradox. If you've ever watched Doctor Who, or like just are familiar with quantum physics. I mean, I'm not expecting you to be, but yeah, exactly. Like, like time travel theory or whatever. But like the bootstrap paradox is like you can't change history if you're a part of it. / like the Timekeepers have to keep history because the Timekeepers have always been there because they've always been there type thing. So in the comics, they were more about the sacred timeline meant ensuring they survived above all
Right.
else, and ensuring that the TVA survived above all else. This, we haven't gotten into that yet. They just say, it's just preserving the timeline type thing.
Hmm.
But I'm sure there's probably something deeper. But in the comics, Kang is not one of those
Okay.
people. But in
Is
this, the
he's
middle
like not
guy,
always a villain, right?
huh?
Is he always a villain or not always?
I think he's pretty much always a villain. I
Okay.
think they've had like reluctant team ups and stuff.
Right.
Um, I'm not sure with his
Hmm.
whole history, but uh, yeah, like he comes from like Tony Stark's future and like Iron Lad and like stuff like that, mixed with
Mm.
some Hank Pym mumbo jumbo, that
Oh,
whole thing.
okay.
Um, so he is definitely not. And then he's like a time traveling villain.
I'm
That's
guy.
his whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, he's a big time guy. So I think that they could kind of simplify things and make him one of the timekeepers.
Right.
They just have to change kind of what a timekeeper is, I think. Uh, but
And that'd be interesting too.
yeah,
You're taking, timekeeper who we're assuming are good people. They're just trying to, keep time proper flow. And this guy's in here, who knows? And if you make him a villain, who knows? Like if he changed things that you wouldn't know because
yeah,
he's the one looking over it.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that'd be interesting if they did go with that.
Hmm.
What did you think about when Loki is with Casey? And well, first I thought it was really funny when he's like, "I'll cut you like a fish." She's like, "I don't even know what that is."
I love that Loki said, like really politely, "What's your name?" And he goes, "Oh,
Yeah,
Casey." And then he goes, "Give me the tesseract, or I'll gut you like a fish, Casey." Like he asked his name super politely so that he could
yeah,
then threaten him more personally. Like, and then he just goes like just Tom Hiddleston. Like he just goes,
yeah,
"Oh, what's your name?" And then he goes,
yeah.
and then he just goes, "Give me the tesseract." Like his voice just like changes so much. It was so funny.
Um,
Um,
what did you think about Casey being like, Loki's like, "Are these Infinity Stones?" And Casey's like, "Yeah, there's like paperweights around here. Like, what are you
yeah.
talking about?" What did you feel that lessened what you had been through the previous 23, 24 movies? Um,
Uh,
I thought it was funny personally. Like
yeah.
and it really shows the scope of the universe. Like you
Mhm.
thought that was like big. That's
Well,
like nothing.
yeah, that's what kind of shows Loki. That's
Yeah.
why, like, after he sees that, that's when he like kind of stumbles backwards, and he just says he's like saying it just kind of to no one, but also like kind of to Casey, where he's just like,
Yeah.
"Is this the ultimate power in the universe?" Like when he's looking at
Yeah.
all the screens and stuff. Um, no, it did not lessen it for me, because I think it's fairly well known or implied that they just don't work outside of the set reality. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's not like it's not like Nat could have gone to the TVA, swiped a soul stone, and then put it in the glove. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
like once they go to the TVA, just like the Tesseract, just like Loki himself, it kind of seems like the TVA makes magic go kaput. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, they said it doesn't work in there. Like
Yeah.
nothing. Like,
So what I'm thinking is kind of because Infinity Stones, they're kind of like semi-living beings. I think it's pretty
right. Yeah.
obvious. Like they have like Red Skull says like it has like a wisdom to it, and that you know Vision feels the Mind
That was some
Stone and
vision.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Um, so I think what it is kind of like when they go to the TVA, when the magic is taken out of them, I think they just die, and they just that's why he says they're paperweights because it's like
Mhm.
they just literally can't be used anymore. And also the Tesseract, every time anybody goes like this with it or it rolls across
Mhm.
the floor, it goes, "Nyeh." And when Loki was playing with it, it was dead. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't glowing
Right.
anymore. It was just a blue
Yeah.
box, and it was making no noise or anything. Like
Uh huh.
I think it maybe just zaps the power out of the Infinity Stones when it gets there. So I thought it was really funny too. I thought it was a really good joke, and it was kind of a good metaphor, saying like exactly like you said. Like you thought these things were the biggest things ever, and here there's like
Uh,
30 of them, and we use
yeah,
them to like for paperweights. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's so freaking funny.
Um, the other thing I really liked, we saw a little bit in the trailer. Owen Wilson is showing, or Mobius is showing Loki like his what he's done. So like in Avengers, the first Avengers and Thor as well. Um, and then they kind of leave. I think that's when Loki escapes. After that, and then when he comes back, I was like, oh, thank God they showed him, because I was like, when are they going to show him, what he's done that he just hasn't done yet?
Yeah,
Um, and thank God I'm so glad we got like that moment of him kind of, clicking through, seeing kind of he basically sent his mom to death, and then seeing how he dies. Um,
yeah.
I think that definitely, you can see like the kind of like look on Tom Hiddleston's face, like when he sees his death and he sees his mom die, or I
And
think he
his
sees his mom die before
and
that,
his father's death too.
and his father's death. Yeah.
And I think probably he sees the ship explode before it says end of file, so I think he probably thinks Thor died too
Right.
in the
Yeah.
explosion. Like
Right.
great
But
acting.
I just like I loved that scene. I
Yeah,
thought that was fantastic the way Tom Hiddleston kind of brought that like emotion to that character.
yeah. And also
Yeah.
for Agents of Shield fans, because I had my one friend texted me and was very
Mhm.
worried about the status of Agents of Shield's canonity in the
Okay.
MCU, and Philip Coulson. Uh,
Oh yeah, fuck, he's up
Mobius,
there. Forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah, Coulson got a little bit of play in there too.
Yeah.
Mobius never says that Coulson died. It's Loki that says, little solace to a dead man, and then they
Hmm.
just kind of move on. So people are like, oh my god, they finally did it. Loki confirmed it's not canon, and it's like, no, Loki just was saying his perception of events. Like,
Hmm.
and all Mobius said was like, didn't the Avengers literally form and beat you to avenge that guy, like to avenge him,
Yeah.
like, so they never actually confirmed that.
Yeah.
Like Mobius never goes, well, actually, you know what I mean? Like he's alive right now, you piece of
Yeah.
crap. That kind
Um,
of stuff.
yeah. And like one of the last things I want to talk about, which again, this show's like deep, kind of like it really,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
every show has been deep.
like
Like
that
Falcon and
TikTok I
Soldier was,
sent you is so sad.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Falcon Winter Soldier, got into kind of the racism of this country and how it would be perceived as a black man taking up the role of Captain America. WandaVision obviously dealt with grief and everything like that. And Loki, I thought it was interesting when, Owen Wilson's kind of asking him all these questions, and he asked him, "Do you like to hurt people?" and stuff like that. And when Loki sees like how he dies and everything, or I think it might be before that, when Owen Wilson is kind of like, you're here to make sure that this stuff happens. Like you're here so
yeah,
people can, get
reach
together
their
to
full
defeat you.
potential. Yeah,
Exactly. And I was
yeah.
like, damn. I was like, he's really
You're a side
just like this
character.
like side character, and
Yeah,
like it almost makes it look like his life literally it has a meaning, but it's not the meaning that he would like it to have.
yeah.
Um,
And
which
that
I was like really depressed about. I was like,
and
that's
that goes
so sad.
back to the absolutely perfect title of this episode, Glorious
Yeah,
Purpose.
yeah,
That's the name of the episode. That's what he says. And this episode is him realizing he was born for glorious purpose, but it's not the glorious
no,
purpose that he thought,
yeah, yeah.
even remotely.
Um,
Which
but,
is like
yeah,
sad, because it's like without Loki, the Avengers wouldn't have been able to win at
right.
all. Like he was born for glorious purpose, but again, even in that, like you said, it's not like, oh, right at the end he got his great moments. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
no, his death is what helped
Is yeah,
Infinity War and
yeah,
Endgame go along. You know what I mean? Like it's really yeah, like you said, like man, it gets you in the feels a little bit tragic.
yeah. Maybe sad for him because I was like, he's really just been like, obviously we know him from however many movies he's been in, and He's always just kind of that pestering, kind of
Yeah.
on Thor's nerves and stuff like that. And every time, Thor's like, every time at every end of the movie, usually he's like, you know, I'm still with you, and then
Yeah.
in the beginning of the movie, he's like, eh. Um, but man, I was just like so upset that he just, even though it's like, obviously, like in Avengers when you're watching it, it's like, oh, Loki's gonna lose at some point. But it's just like, I wish he had something like to, like he wins at some point. I mean, this series could be his like win though. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure like where the character goes after this show.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
just gonna say.
I
Yeah.
think he already said that he won't be in Thor 4, I believe. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, I think he's
Coming
probably more
up.
likely for Doctor Strange 2
Mm.
than Thor 4.
What a team up that would be. Doctor Strange, Wanda, and Loki.
It happened in the comics. That's
Oh, it
like that's
has.
well, they're like the three most magically powerful
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that'd be crazy
Well, what I will say about the show, so far so good. I'm pretty hyped for episode 2, and
for
just
sure.
I'm interested to see also if this will be a. Do they say this is a limited series, or do they say there's a possibility for season 2?
I think this one has. I think they said it has potential for season 2. I think because this is
Okay.
also like it's so deep and everything, but it also can be kind of like a procedural as well.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
this one has the most opportunity for more than one season. But I think like any of these shows, the tricky spot that you get yourself in is how do you take them, how do you give them the show,
Hmm.
put them back in the movies, and then put them back into the show. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like at that point, you're just like, well, wouldn't you just do a movie? You know what I mean? Like it would be weird if Loki did this season, then teamed up with Doctor Strange and Wanda and did all this crazy stuff, and then just went back to the TVA. Like you'd be like, I mean,
Mm.
you could explain it, they could write it. It's just it's a little
Right.
tricky there. Um, but yeah, do you think? Let me just ask you this: do you think at any point he will rejoin the main MCU timeline, like in a
Um.
Gamora style
Oh,
thing?
like not
Like
kind of live in like the outskirts,
yeah, like
like.
do you ever think like after he does all this character development and everything like that, do you ever think he will like reteam with his brother and be like, "Hey, I'm not
Um.
your Loki, but I'm back," like that kind of thing, like
Well, right now. Oh yeah, because he doesn't have like. He doesn't have the develop like he doesn't have the development yet. I mean, him seeing everything that happens, I feel like kind of sped up the development.
yeah.
Um, so you kind of got all that in maybe one episode. Um, I don't know. I've heard people say that this could lead. I don't think he'll get his own movie at any point. I don't think that's gonna happen. Um, I mean, he's definitely an interesting enough character, but I don't know what kind of adventures you send him on. I think maybe he pops in, but he's not like fully in. Like I could see him like Thor 4 is coming out before Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. I was gonna say maybe he shows up if he's not in Thor 4, maybe he shows up in Guardians 3 if Thor ends up back with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Maybe, yeah.
Because he left with them, right? At the end of Endgame. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
So maybe, he shows up in Guardians 3 if Thor is with them. I don't see him like popping up if like Thor isn't there. You know what I mean?
True, yeah. Well, he
But I
popped
could
up here and Thor's not there.
That's true.
Might be a new chapter
Yeah.
in his character.
Yeah.
I think it's got pretty interesting options for the future.
Mhm.
Last thing I want to talk about is, do you think, I'm not saying that they know it,
Mhm.
but do you think that the TVA is actually like evil?
I don't.
Because I
Okay.
asked, this is, hang on, let me see if I can pull it up here. The little reset bomb that they do,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That thing looks a lot more sinister than I think we see, and we never actually see the end of it. And when they let it go off right next to those villagers in Mongolia in the beginning of the episode, when Loki's going through the door, he like looks at it and he goes like he's like he looks like terrified of it.
Mm,
Like I think they
yeah.
just like I don't think that they're like Men in Black like flashing people's memories. I think they just
Right.
kill everybody.
Oh.
Like I think they just like reset the area just like
As
they
in, take
reset
everybody out that
people.
just saw what happened.
Yes, exactly. Like I
um.
think that's what happens because look at how brash they are with human life inside the TVA. They just burned that guy up because he didn't have a ticket. You know what I mean? Like uh I feel like we're gonna learn more about those little reset bombs because that's what we find out
Yeah.
the villain is collecting. I think there's something to do with the energy that those are made of that might play into the future of the
Yeah.
season and the show.
I I want to say no because I would not want to unless this is all happening. Owen Wilson is oblivious; he has no idea. Um, I would like to say no because I don't want to believe that Mobius is like some villain or something like that, or
Yeah.
part of a villainous organization. Then again, you could be right with that. I was under the impression that it just kind of like reset them to 5-10 minutes beforehand,
I just
and
think there's
then
a reason that we
yeah,
have that they've never actually shown us what happens.
right,
And but
yeah,
Loki, he did have
and
like a terrified face.
at the well, I mean, I don't know if they were getting burned alive at the end of the episode. I guess they were because that one guy is like crawling to the what's it called, the bomb thing.
Yeah.
Then he gets like yanked away or whatever happens. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good theory though. I haven't seen that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it might be possible. And like you said with like Kang, I mean if Kang's running the show, there's a good
Mm.
possibility that could be
Yeah,
evil.
yeah.
Um but yeah, let us know what did you guys think of episode 1 of Loki, episode 1 Glorious Purpose. I'd like to personally thank um Disney Plus and Marvel Studios for naming this show something short because it was very much a pain trying to get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier into tweets, thumbnails, and titles. So I appreciate it. But let us know what you think. You can comment down below. You can tweet at us at the official PFN. And let us know what you guys thought. Make sure to check out our merch store in the link in the description. That'll do it for me for this installment of Planet Hero.
Did you say yourself? You didn't say your name.
Oh, and I'm, as always, one of your hosts, Sean Monk, at Paste Eating Yak.
I'm your host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for joining us today. I assume this is going up at 8 p.m. tonight. So,
Yeah.
if you're watching this now, go check out. We should have a reaction video up to anything from E3 today. We'll be doing a live stream today, Saturday, and tomorrow for Xbox and Bethesda tomorrow. And then I think Ubisoft today. I'm not sure, though. You might be leaving before it starts. So
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
am. I
to
think
react to
it's
the
at
trailers.
3. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just react to the trailers then. But
But live
yeah, don't
stream
forget to
tomorrow, definitely.
live stream tomorrow. Like, comment, subscribe on this video. Let us know what you thought of the episode, any theories you have, what you liked about the episode, what you didn't, and we will catch you next time.
Boom, boom.